machen, aber ich kann keine Komplimente nehmen, weil es war nur eine offene, ganz offene Einladung und ich bin ganz stolz auf diesen Ausschnitt. Es schaut so gut aus. Das ist ein wunderbares Projekt. Danke. Kurz Einleitung, Black Pages, das sind Christoph Meier, Ute Müller und Nick Oberthaler. Black Pages wurde 2009 in Wien mit der Intention gegründet, einen Raum in gedruckter Form als Ausstellungsformat zu schaffen. Black Pages ist ein regulär erscheinendes Künstler Fanzine in einer Editionsauflage von 300. Es wird im A5-Format schwarz, weiß, gedruckt, umfasst 20 Seiten. Für jede einzelne Ausgabe lädt Black Pages Künstlerinnen Zusammenarbeit ein und das Fanzine wird dann nach dem Vornamen der jeweiligen Künstlerin benannt. Ja, es gibt bis jetzt über 80 Künstler, dass sie haben zusammengearbeitet und vielleicht Sie sprechen über diesen Format in diesem Projekt in ein paar Minuten. Sophie Nys wird 1974 geboren, sie lebt und arbeitet in Zürich und Brüssel. Das ist das zweite Mal, wir haben zusammengearbeitet eigentlich. Ja. In ihren Arbeiten vereint sie Skulptur, Zeichnung, Fotografie und Video und beschäftigt sich über die Themen Politik, Kunst und Gesellschaft und Geschichte, Philosophie und Architektur. Sie ist der Frage nach Ursache und Effekt, Vergänglichkeit und Kontinuität und öffnet neue Raum für Reflexion und Widerstand. Zuletzt hat sie Ausstellungen im Archiv in Zürich, Stiftung Hinz 39 in Zürich, in Krag, Alsace, Altkirch, Künstler Wien, Artspace New York, Hauskonstruktiv Zürich und The Model in Sligo, Ireland. So, without further ado, the conversation is going to be in English this evening, but of course, if people have questions for Black Pages, we'll save a bit of time at the end for that. Without further ado, Sophie and Black Pages, please.
Welcome.
First I'm going to do something. I'm going to do it to you.
Oh.
It's a small thing. Later it will explain itself.
Okay. Well, Seamus told a few things about our practice already. So that's Christoph and Ute and me, we started to run that. Decided to run this project since 2009, like 8 years ago. And we started it with the intention to give space to artists, to artistic practices. We want to show, or we are interested ourselves, and but not to make or to create an exhibition space like an art space that you would basically make exhibitions. So choose something very simple, which is easy to produce and costs not a lot of money, but then has a maximum effect in terms of what you would call network or getting out of a frame somehow. And the concept was quite simple. We decided to have a formal conceptual base with a conceptual framework that would always be like the same type of font type on the cover, to decide that each magazine would always be named after the first name of the artist, always 20 pages, like 18 pages inside plus the cover. So we would give only the framework to the artist that is also not changeable in a sense of that. Artists come and say, hey, can I change the font type, or can I put an image on the cover or not? But this was not to be discussed. So the framework has to stay, which would be, if you think about a space, about a physical space, it's like the walls that you just construct and that are not be able to destroy it, to change that kind of metaphysical space in a way. And the project is always has been an editor's choice project, which means that we decide on the artists. We kind of meet and we talk about which people we consider to be invited for the, or we want to invite to contribute an issue, and the artist is always free to do whatever he or she wants to do. So we had very different contributions that even went out of that typical format of just designing a fanzine with images or with text. For example, we had Herwig Weiser that produced a DVD with cuts of short films and with music. So there was only the cover, and inside the cover there was a DVD. Or we had also, for example, Robert Jelinek, that also we have here in our little bookshop, from State of Sabotage, that would write a manifestum and then during the presentation of the magazine, using it as a performance and ripping out half of the pages. So you would actually buy a destroyed magazine. Which brings me to the next point, that the decision was always that we wanted to sell them in a very democratic way, or with a very cheap price that just covers the production of the magazine. So we are not making any money out of it. It's always €2, and the decision that they are packed in this little nice plastic bag, which won't allow you to see what's inside before you have bought it. So that was always the kind of principle of making people also interested, and you know, €2 is not like a crazy price for something, for a little collectible edition. And we had some artists that are not available anymore, and that are sold out magazines, like the first issues we did like 8 years ago, but several others our stock is going less and less. And we got more and more interest from people to, you know, they start after a few issues to collect them, or even museums or institutions went on and said, hey, we want to buy the whole set for our institution. Also because we decided to stop the project with number 100, which will be very soon, in approximately 1 or 2 years. And then, I don't know, we go on to other projects in the future. And speaking about the space, when you invited us to do that, to create something here, we had the decision. We decided to turn the cabinet into a very small bookshop, which is something that I don't think Salzburg has yet in that kind of form, with a lot of independent publishers that you won't find that easy in regular bookshops. So it's also a very simple and small selection of things that is very subjective in the end. So there's no aim to create a kind of index on something, because there has been a lot of these shows on artist publications in the past, I don't know, half a year. So some of you might have seen the show in the Künstler Vienna about publications that Luca Rubinto did, which had a very different idea about artistic publication. So it's only something that we would choose to present here, different publishers from Europe, even from outside of Europe, yeah, you're invited to skim through them, and they are also all for sale here. Some of them are even for free. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the selection of books and magazines, and I pass on the word or introduce Sophie Nys, that also collaborated with us on one issue, which you can see on the shelf here. With all her publications she published so far, as she is an artist that I think publishing is playing a big role in your artistic practice. So that's also why we invited her to show her publications here. And she did something very nice, because her Black Pages magazine we published with her is basically a catalogue of all her publications at that point she did so far. And since Sophie has done some new publications, she produced a nice add-on, which you see below our issues, that you can get for free today if you buy a Sophie Nys. Always, not only today, always. that you can stick into your black pages, Sophie, to have the full complete set of catalogs of all Sophie Nys publications.
So, yeah, voila. So I was thinking, yeah, when they invited me, I thought it was really fun to have like a book with my name on. I never did that before, at least so like in your face. So for me it was a nice occasion then to make a collection of things I've done so far. So, so I was thinking, okay, we're gonna have a talk, but I mean the main thing is set. So I was thinking, okay, let's go through all the publications. They are not all there, and I took them with me, and I just will show them, and then you can go through them afterwards, because I can say about every publication something, but a bit too much to handle tonight. So. And then maybe if you have questions, we can talk about it afterwards, in German even. It's possible. So the first one is, there we go. The first one I did when I was doing a postgraduate in the Jan van Eyck in Holland. Ah yeah, good, super.
Should we go through like a...
Yeah, you can flip, no, but very, I mean, this is only on, I don't know how many copies this is. It's like 30 copies, so it's...
Oh, it's a very fragile book.
No, I mean, the thing I liked about it, it's like service après-vente, it's like the service after you buy something, which is in our days today not so, yeah. But anyways, I'm not so proud of it, what it is, but anyways, that was a bit the beginning. So that's... And then this is a project I started. Actually, that was also in the beginning of digital photography. So it was really new in the last part of the 20th century that you could just take pictures and it wouldn't cost you anything. So I was enjoying this a lot while visiting exhibitions. And since I don't have a very good memory, I started to photograph works I liked in shows, and the explanation of the work. I put it together, and then I published for an occasion one that was in a show, and another one for my personal archive, and I did that until version 6, and all the works here are also here, but not in the same order. So I added during all these years these works I liked, but alphabetically, the artists are alphabetically ordered.
It's like a kind of personal catalog on exhibitions and
dynamics in yes, actually, it's a personal catalog, and this I produced as an edition on 20 copies for a show in Lausanne, and I decided also, because this is 2012, I started in 2001. The pictures I took already a bit before, because exactly because of this easiness with making pictures and shows, more and more it was forbidden. So I really got annoyed by it, and I stopped with it. And I have a small anecdote with this. So there is a work of Hans-Peter Feldman in it, and I made an edition with this work also. It says, it's exactly the same thing, and it says like, no, thank you. It's some kind of a homage to Feldman, and I sent it to him in Düsseldorf. I'm a bit afraid, like, how would he react? Would he be offended or thinking that it's a bad joke or something? But then I got a card back from him, and it says, thank you. So, yeah. Then that's also a work I did around. It was lots of work. Publications are related with the show. It's like in the context of a show, and this was a show one of the biggest shows I did in the beginning of my career, and all the forms you see inside they have come from a mailing list from the institution I was showing, and I sent out a mail to all the people to tell me the most northern, southern, western, and eastern point they were ever been in their life, and with Europe in the center, so you get all these personal shapes actually. So this was also still in my work when I was maybe still exploring formal stuff. So this is the Profilo Continuo. It was I made it for a show. It was a bit pretty silly curatorial concept of the show. It was like Belgian and Italian artists, and I thought it was a bit weird. So I also thought, okay, let's be harsh too. And it's a Profilo Continuo. It's actually the profile of and but it's this futurist. There are not so many. There are 4 versions of it, and it's just the head. I mean, it's always when it turns. If you turn around, it's always the profile. And but inside, it's actually each page is a slide. So the work is a slideshow, and you always see the same slide, but it kind of makes you think that it's turning. So it has to do with this like man becoming machine. And,
so is it like a flip book?
No, because
don't flip it.
It's always the same picture actually.
So you could flip it with the same picture?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. But no,
it's a limited effect.
Yeah, but it's also very badly printed. I also like black pages. I don't spend lots of money on my publications, and because the blacks of the sculpture it's not always the same. So it gives you the feeling that it's different. So.
Can I ask you something? What was the reaction when you submitted that? Was there a sense of? Did they get a sense of the irony?
Yeah, the curator wasn't very happy with it, but he understood I mean, it's also a bit the way I work. I think I don't want to provoke or I don't want to shock at all, but more like I just want to find myself as an artist in a proposal from a curator, and it's not shocking. I mean, it's an historical thing, and but also the image, I didn't pay copyright for it. I wrote to the museum. It's the Imperial War Museum in London that I needed it for educational purposes, and then you pay the the CD and the costs, administrative costs. So, but here you see, this is also in the colophon. I mean, the cover of a book for me, it's really the place to give as much as information as possible for what's happening inside. And here you see a white frame around. That's actually the adaptation of the slide. So here in the colophon, I talk about really the work of this Bertalis sculpture, and this is actually my work. So and it has like 90 pages, which is a full carousel. So yeah, voila. I have to be careful because time is running. Then this, you see that is the Obilori. It's actually a illegal act I did in Belgium. I reproduced like hatred, propaganda, which is it's an anti-Jewish newspaper from the Second World War in France, and you cannot print things like this. It's against the law. So, but I did it. I printed 300 copies of this newspaper, and I used it to paint objects I showed in a show. Wait, yes. Because so I use it actually like a pedestal for the objects. I don't have the picture. So that's why I put Nick on it, because I cannot. I mean, it should not circulate without being damaged. So this I never give it like this when it's clean, or because this is not a work. And I use when I have to paint something, when I produce a work, and I need to paint and I need to protect my table or my floor, I use this thing. There are some things left, so yeah. And it's actually again it's a bit in the same thing. It's again a work that is actually containing a slide projection. So all the images you see, each page is a slide, and this text on the front, it's the title of the publication, but the title is actually a really long one, and it says a lot about the topic inside, and it's about shame poles. I went to look for all the shame poles existing in Belgium, and in French it's pilori, so it has to do with this.
Could you explain the shame poles to us? I think
yes.
I know what they are, but maybe just...
Yeah, I think in Great Britain and UK, shame pole is more, they had more the wooden thing with 3 holes for your arms and your head.
Yeah.
But in the lowlands and all, we had the pilories, and it was a way to punish people. When it was before the French came, and local, you had many different local authorities with all different local punishments for small crimes, because it was like in the late Middle Ages and so on. It was very important for small communities to keep the control, because if the baker would not bake the bread anymore, or the person who makes beer would mess up the beer, the whole kind of... So it was an instrument for public shaming. So when someone was like sleeping with the wife of his neighbor, this should not happen, but it's also not, you don't throw someone in prison for this, but it has to become clear to the society that that's a bad example. So when it was the day of the market or the church, this person was then attached to this kind of thing during 1 hour, 2 hours, or maybe 4 times during a month. But it's about public shaming. Yeah. So it's a bit nowadays what is happening on Facebook.
Facebook, yeah.
We have a shame wall here. You can make photos in front of the star wall with all the little logos from the publisher and put them on Facebook if you like.
You don't understand my work.
Yeah, of course.
So voila. But if you have more questions, we can talk about it later. I'm a bit in a...
Maybe just one thing, I think, in case some people haven't noticed, what Sophie is doing is this original publication that was made by Black Pages has the front cover of every, I don't know if it was clear, but it's the front cover of every publication done up until that moment.
Yes.
And now you went through them one by one.
Yes, exactly, because they're not all there, because
yeah.
some of them you cannot get them anymore.
Yeah.
So I thought, when I was invited for the talk, I was thinking, what shall I talk about? Yeah. So let's talk about questions. So this is actually based on this. This is the menu of a restaurant. I went a lot in Brussels, Taverne du Passage, and I was always very impressed by the menu, which has a very floppy cover, and inside it's like cardboard. And it has 4 like staples, which is rare. And well, yeah. And I probably unconsciously, consciously, I was thinking one day I want to do something with this, and that happened then. I was doing a film with Arthur Lindsay. He was doing the music for a film, and before the film existed, I wanted him to make like a score, a music score. So I printed this on 250 copies, but actually it was really only for Arto. And inside you have all the Latin names of the plants used by Roberto Burle Marx. He's a Brazilian garden artist, how do you say this?
Garden design.
Yeah.
Landscape architect.
Yeah. And I went into his archive. I mean, the film was also about the park this Burle Marx made in Rio de Janeiro. And I went to his archive and I found the list of all the plants he used. So Arto, he had to, this was the text he could use to sing. So this is a music score, but it also contains the whole park actually, but in a scientific way. This is an amazing project by Mariana Castillo de Pau. She's an artist using also often publications and printed matter in her work. And she invited some artists to design a cover of a book that doesn't exist. So, and the book she made then is a collection of all covers of books that doesn't exist, but became a book. I think it's a very beautiful work. And here you see also a cover inside. So this I really liked to put also in the black pages because it doesn't exist, but it exists. So it was for me nice to give the feeling that this book is really existing. Yeah, this one we had already, the last catalogue. The brother is there. This one is still available. This Brother is a title of a work I made in Krak-Alsace, and it's actually based on this. This is a detail of a manuscript. It's called the Apocalypse, and it was. I saw a small illustration of this in a book about the plague, and I was reading a lot about the Black Death and the plague, and I was really intrigued by this backdrop of this illustration. So I went to Cambridge to the library, and I was consulting the manuscript, and through the whole book you see always these weird faces. And nobody really has an explanation for this, but it's a bit like this wall. It was always a backdrop of this kind of scenes of St. Paul. So I decided, I mean, it's part of a show, it's a lot of side information. But for the show, I made a whole wall with this. It was a backdrop for the work I did there, and I had the idea to make a publication around it. So it had to be square, since this was square, I thought. And I think square is a very difficult format in publishing, except of vinyl. It feels really correct. This square. So I was looking in my library, and I found this. I had only this squarey book, and it's actually from Martin Kippenberger. And what I liked is the smoke on it also, because during this after a while people realized that, or they were thinking that the plague was traveling through the air, and then you had these plague doctors, and they had these beaks with like a well-smelling herb.
No.
Looking at me like.
No, I was looking at it.
Yeah. So I thought it was a nice reference with this actually on it, and also the people who were dealing with the cities, they also asked people to burn as much as possible to disinfect. So it's also about disinfection. Yeah, and these doctors, because there was a lot of people were dying, they were dead, there were dead bodies all over. So with this beak and these well-smelling herbs inside, it was also a way to just deal with the situation. Best up.
Like a sterilization machine.
Yes, yeah, I think. So this is a small book. It's called the Pestpatron, and the Pestpatron is actually a opus, and it's the patron against to protect people from the plague. And yeah, well, I also made a work around this. When I saw these images of this Rockus, he always shows his leg, his naked leg, and I had to think of a funny thing in the media that happened, but I don't. It was actually the ex-wife of Brit. Brad Pitt. Yeah, his ex-wife. Yeah, yeah, she is.
Oh, do you know Jennifer?
No, there was a thing in the media. Maybe you remembered. It was a whole scandal because, and it was a new word that was invented, like leg bombing. So she bombed her leg. So people were shocked because she showed her leg like really high up, and I was a bit like, yeah, what's the fuss? But then when I saw this Pestpatron thing, I had to think again of this, and I found out that actually she kind of inspired a lot of other people to do this. So there's a whole series of actresses and yeah, this is the guy. Yeah, so I made a photo collage work with all these women who are showing their legs, but with the dog and the bread with it, because actually he is always represented with a dog, with a piece of bread, because the dog saved his life. That's also not a story. This is a newspaper, and it's all the clips, paper clips from the purchase of a work by Karl André by the Tate in London. So it was a big scandal. So it starts in 1976 and it ends in 1978. It's during
George falling down.
During 2 years there was a whole media storm. In the beginning really heavy, and then around this work by Karl André. So illegally in the library of the Tate, I photographed all these clips, because if you want to make one picture, you have to kind of fill in the whole form, and I had like 300 pictures, something to do. Then this is a book.
It's possible.
Yeah, this book doesn't have a title really, but it has a dedication, and it's dedicated to love, because in the cover you see the outside of two different forms of a waffle iron. And inside there is the whole collection of these things. From a collection in Mulhouse, but it's a very beautiful story, because I was doing a show in this region, and I was in the attic, and there was a whole rack with these things, and he said, yeah, these are these strange waffle eisen, and they are made especially for couples, bourgeois couples, who have like a heraldic, like important families. And when they got married, they make this thing and make waffles. So on one side it's the information of the wife, and the other side of the man, and then they become one. And when he was saying that, I was like, wow, this is just like a book, because pages in a book, they are married, they have to deal with each other for the rest of their life. So I asked if we could make a book out of this show. And actually it's not only about these families, it's like families like this one, a woman and a man, but you also have just ornamental ones or religious ones, so you have 3 different kinds actually. And these objects, it's a bit bigger than this and a really long stick, so it was for me, I had to decide, okay, how do I put this in the book when it was still readable, so I decided to always cut it, but then make a drawing. Like sometimes you have this easygoing relationship and sometimes complex, and so the why they are connected always with the drawing I made.
3D printers.
This is a book. It speaks for itself. It looks like a budget line of a supermarket in Switzerland. And since they have everything in their supermarket, like for example even this, like the Swiss Army knife and DVDs. I proposed that, but they don't have art, so I asked him, I want to make an artist book and you can sell it in your supermarket. So also people who don't have a lot of money, they can buy art. And they were very charmed by the idea, but they didn't do it, but they gave me all the pack shots of the products they were selling at that moment, and the DVD is not in it, because this was not in the gamma anymore. And it's related with the prize I was selected for in Switzerland and story. So
a real Swiss book.
What?
A real Swiss book.
Then this is, I was living in Switzerland during 5 years, and it's not so easy to integrate and have a decent job in a way. Many decent jobs, but not for immigrants. And maybe. And I was then doing Aufsicht in the Kunsthauswerk. And actually it was very badly paid. And then I was busy with working around the Industrial Revolution and the bad conditions of workers at that time. They had to stand on their feet like during 16 hours or something, and were badly paid, and I had to sit 8 hours and was badly paid, and it's also very unhealthy actually today. So we don't smoke anymore, but now we sit. So this is a new kind of physical condition we suffer from. And in the book you see all the positions I was taking pictures from an exhibition.
Unrelated.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm offended. No, and so I was sitting on a stool like this and taking pictures when nobody was in the show. And you would think like, it's like a museum catalog or something, like with exhibition shots. But you always see the presence of the book or the pages I was reading. So you see the presence of me taking the picture. And what I think is interesting here is that when there's no one visiting an exhibition, I couldn't do my job. I could not be an Aufsicht because there was nobody to be Aufsichtet auf. And, so my job turned into something else. I could make photographs, I could write or whatever. So it's about this kind of things. So there is the vinegar stones. This was a work I did. I went to the UK. It's incorrect to say Great Britain still.
Sorry?
How do you say when you want to talk about these islands? Well, you cannot say England. You have to say
Ireland's a republic.
I mean the whole thing. It's the UK is the best way to say it.
If you want to, Northern Ireland's in the UK, but the Republic of Ireland is not in the UK.
But this whole geographical group
British
Great Britain?
That's actually a very interesting question because it's always debated. So British people come over and they say, oh, it's the British Isles, but this is an older colonial term. So, you know.
So what should I say?
That collection of 2 islands up there.
But I only was traveling in England in this case. So when this brother, I didn't tell you, but it was actually like a style to start a letter in the classic time. So Vergilius was using this, and Petrarca he took it from Vergilius to start a letter about the horrors of the plague that he was surviving all the time. So around him he lost a lot of people that died from the plague, and there are just really little testimonies or written sources about this disease because maybe 2% of the population could write. So, and here you see a stone. Maybe you have to pass it through because it's not seen very well. And it's called, it's a plague stone in Holland. And the people thought that if you take away bits of the stone, it would protect you from the plague. So I was very impressed by this stone because it's one of the few remnants of what this disease was doing. So it's like language, but in like by taking away material or something.
It's like an archive. It's like an archive.
Yeah, but it's also an object. Like it's not an artifact. It's like something that is manipulated because of something, like belief and like. And the stone was called plague stone. And then I wanted to know more about it, and then I ended up with this kind of images. And these stones are called plague stones or vinegar stones, and they are in England. And thanks to internet, I could kind of localize these weird stones. So it's a stone with a hole. And apparently when a village was struck by the plague, they couldn't be in contact with other people. At a certain moment they understood that it had to do with communication and contacts with other people. So they put vinegar or urine sometimes in this hole, and the sick people could go there, put money in it, coins, go back to their places and be sick. And then there were other people who left goods there next to the stone and took the money. And the vinegar and the urine was to disinfect actually the money. So this is a collection of this. So and then for this lecture I thought it would be nice maybe to then continue with it. So this you know already. This is a book I made for an exhibition that happened during Art Basel last year, and it's 101 creators on Venus, and it refers to important scientist women who did important work, because in this book you have 102 important women who did important things. And when I was reading about them, I was looking to find 102 of this persona. Often it was written, and her name, there is a crater named after her on Venus. And apparently on Venus, all the craters bigger than, I don't know, a certain diameter are called after important female scientists, like we all know Marie Curie, for example. And the smaller ones, they're just having female names. So I really had to laugh because in our society, often you have men are honored because you have plazas or street names, and it's very like in your daily life. And then we honor the woman, and it's like really far away,
Outer space.
and you don't actually never really deal with it. But every woman here in this small book is related to a painting in Basel, in an aula from the university. You enter the space and it's only men. So it's all researchers and professors, etc.
So Sophie, we're almost out of time.
Yes, look.
Great.
2 minutes. So this is, I will not say anymore, so if you want to know. So this is, it's a book. It's actually a collection of Swiss companies which are still active. There's another collection existing which are not active, and it's all the advertisement from a certain period in the 70s. And this is a book. This is the collection of all the Notwasserbrunnen in Zurich, and it's a fountain. It's actually a very unique and specific circuit of water, closed, and it was initiated by the city and maybe higher up, like military actually. It's a system to defend the population when the communists would have poisoned the water. This water is kind of a controlled thing that people still would be able to, you see, you could open then the fountain, add a tube and some hanen, and then people could come and bring their embers. There's more to say about it.
It's in the corners of the city of Zurich.
Yeah, but it's actually like this. And the red is like the enemy, you know, threatening. And actually the very last publication, which was just done last week, is this one. It's from a collection based on a museum in Antwerp, a sculpture museum, and this one is for free, so for the fast people. Well, thanks for your
Thank Maybe to conclude, you might mention the 2 events coming up.
Yes, there's 2 events.